Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to give you my spoiler review of Black Adam. Now, I saw it yesterday. I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit and digest this film because Black Adam is a very interesting... It's a very weird movie. And not weird in the same way of Halloween Ends. Like, Halloween Ends was weird in just the decisions they decided to make. And it was just, I just don't know if you go that way. Like, I think that they tried to get really overly creative and overly thought and really just kind of went too a little overboard with trying to do something different, that it ended up just being kind of like, this isn't what anyone signed up for. Whereas this is interesting in the sense that there are multiple, I would count, there are multiple, maybe I'd count even 5 moments in the movie that are really, really cool. Like, now that I'm talking spoilers, like, the first big action sequence of this movie is The Rock awakening from his tomb. Now, we've seen glimpses of this sequence. Is one of the first things we actually saw about Black Adam, on Black Adam, is that sequence where where they're in the temple and the guys with guns are coming up on him, and he's got the hood and cape, he's got the hood and cloak on, and you can't really see his face, and he grabs that one dude, electrocutes him to death, and like, that entire scene was badass. I'll admit, like, I think that whole first sequence with him, and at a certain point they started playing Painted Black, and it was, and when the needle dropped, it actually was kind of cool. And when they did the slow motion, they did slow motion, but I didn't mind it in this sequence. I thought it was really cool. Like, I thought the whole sequence was cool. I thought it was appropriately brutal. I think out of all the things about this movie, they do a pretty good job of getting across Black Adam being an because I thought that the whole premise that they were going with him, I kill people, I thought that was a bit like, okay, if this movie had came out 12 years ago, maybe that would have been something, you know, insanely groundbreaking. But we got characters like Deadpool, we got all kinds of we got Deadpool, we got freaking, we got goddamn, why am I blinking on John Cena's Suicide Squad character name? We got, Peacemaker, we got, the Punisher. Like, there's so many characters who kill people, and like, that's their big thing. That's the big line that they draw, is that they do kill people, unlike these other heroes. Like, that story's been done even better, and we've seen it. So, like, the whole premise that they were, like, pushing about him being an anti-hero, that he kills people, I was a little like, okay. But, you know what? I think they did find a unique angle on that, because all those other characters I talked about, from the Peacemakers to the Deadpools and whatnot, those characters are, like, either humans or humanoid characters, where it's like, yes, they kill people, but they're not, like, powers on par with like a Superman or something. So it is actually pretty cool and pretty enjoyable throughout the course of the movie to see Black Adam. You almost get a glimpse of what like an evil Superman would be like, of what a Superman who just, as some reviewers have said, a Superman who just doesn't give a fuck. So from that perspective, Black Adam's action sequences, was particularly when he's fighting normal humans, particularly that first one, was appropriately brutal and very cool, and I thought it was pretty badass actually. And it's weird, and there's a couple action sequences like that. I'm starting off talking about the good stuff. I actually thought The Rock was decent. He wasn't like mind-blowing. It wasn't like I couldn't see anyone else playing that role if they went to get someone else. Granted, when you get The Rock, he does come with a certain bit of charm to him because it's The Rock. So, outside of The Rock's natural charm, there's not really much to the character. We learn there's a reveal about him later in the movie, because it's revealed that Teth Adam, The Rock's character, aka Black Adam, he wasn't the original chosen. Because throughout the course of the movie, from the beginning, they tell 3 different versions of the story, and I got what they were going for. In fact, that's kind of my feeling about this whole movie is that I get all what they're going for. There's never a beat where I'm confused. I'll give the movie that. I'm never, confused of what they're trying to do. I'm just not positive that they did it very well. I get what you're going for, but the execution of what they were going for isn't very well, because there's this thread throughout the course of the film where there are 3 different versions until we get to the true version of the story. Because as the story tells it, like Tef Adam, you know, the savior, and the way they frame it is like Black Adam, like, is that this, because at the beginning of the movie you see this boy and they give like a Black Panther-esque, you know, history of, what was it, Tanakh or Tenok? I don't remember the name of the place. Let's just call it Tenok for short. They give like a little history lesson on Tenok, and it's very Black Panther-esque. I mean, it's Black Panther-esque to a fault, which is one of the big problems about this movie, is that it does rip off an awful lot of comic book things. Not just from Marvel, but from other DC things. I mean, Tenok is essentially a shitty version of Wakanda. Really what it is. Because literally they have this advanced technology that's fueled by a certain mineral that only grows in Tenok, Black Panther, except that place is a shitty place where only the rich and powerful are benefiting from that said technology, because they got like hovercrafts and shit and bombs that can, you know, bombs with I can't even remember the name of it. Was it like, it wasn't unobtainium. It was like something, it was like iridium, aluminum. I don't know. All I know is it was like, I don't think that's a part of the you know, the Black Adam mythos, but whatever. They basically made this place bootleg Wakanda. It really is. It's like the shittier version of Wakanda. And right down to them having their own symbol, and they're having their own version of Wakanda Forever. And like I say, they really tried to take from a lot of other, there are straight up shots from this movie that are taken from both Doctor Strange and the original Iron Man. There are shots from this movie that look like they were ripped off from previous other DC films. But, you know, that's when you get into the technical level. But with the character Black Adam, you know, there's a lot of issues. And like, I made a video saying that it didn't make any sense why he would, like, why they wanted to make him this anti-hero right off the bat instead of having him be a villain and progress to that. But, you know, the way they frame it, and he knew they would, was just like, now granted, they tried to give it a bit complexity by making it like he wasn't the actual chosen one, his son was the actual chosen one, but his son chose him, and in his rage, he damn near destroyed the entire, you know, entire country in his rage, so the gods sealed him away because he was out of control. And like, it's like, okay, that is somewhat close to what happened. Though in the comics, it's a lot darker than that. In the comics, it was like his nephew got the powers, and he just straight up killed his nephew and took the power for himself. Like, it was hardcore in the comics. But in here, they tried to make it a little bit more saddening, give you a little bit more sympathy with the main protagonist and whatnot. But, you know, it's a softer, like, they didn't soften it as much as I thought they would. I thought they were going to completely soften it, but they didn't. There is even a cameo from the Wizard Shazam, from the Shazam movie, in here. I mean, there's still a litany of problems, you know, questions of, obvious one is, why didn't the Wizard show up when he awoken? And some people might be saying the Wizard's dead. Well, he sure as hell showed up in the Shazam 2 trailer, so clearly he's not dead. And why wouldn't Shazam have been alerted about this? That there's another person running around the world with the same lightning bolt and powers that he has. I do find that very interesting. But let's get to the Justice Society. The Justice Society is weird because outside of Hawkman and Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher and Cyclone are pretty much, they didn't even need to be here. They're pretty much useless characters. Like, they don't really add anything to the plot. In fact, if they weren't there, the plot would still go the exact same way that it did. It almost felt like they were just there so that they can have a team, so that they could call themselves that, so that they could have enough members to be a team. I thought the actor who played Hawkman didn't do a bad job, but the problem is he is written so you know, one-dimensional that he's kind of lackluster, because him and Black Adam keep going through the same argument over and over again, and it's like this dude is incapable of understanding the complexities until the very end of the movie that this is complex, and like that it isn't black and white. And the only person who's really speaking any sense is Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan. Now, Pierce Brosnan does a great job in the movie. In my opinion, he is really good. Honestly, I was like, dude, I could just do with a movie with Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. Like, honestly, I would have rather have watched that movie than this entire Black Adam movie. But even still, I still enjoyed Pierce Brosnan, though the relationship that they tried to build between him and Hawkman didn't really land very well because you don't really get a lot of time with them. So when Pierce Brosnan eventually dies, like, I don't really feel anything. I'm sad, but I'm not sad because the character died. I'm sad because Pierce Brosnan, this great actor who should be playing this role, died. So, you know, I could go on and on about this movie. It's edited very strangely. Although some of the needle drops are cool, particularly two of them, a lot of times it's just sudden and it's just like, okay, I got you. They're just dropping it just to drop it. The slow motion is completely over the top, ridiculous at times. Like I said, I liked it in that first sequence. Maybe even that, maybe one other time, but they did it so much. It is tropey as fuck with an annoying kid in it. That every line that comes out of this kid's mouth is cringy as hell. And at the end of the day, this movie really should have ended like 20 minutes early. Me and Seth, who I went to go see it with, were looking at each other like this movie should have been over. Honestly, if it had ended with him like giving up his powers and going into like being taken in and being stored away, that would have been a much more better ending than the ending that we ended up getting, which was just a typical, you know, ending. It would have been a much better ending just because it's like, dude, like, if it had ended like that, that'd be interesting, with him coming to terms with the fact that I am dangerous. That would have been an interesting ending. That would have been an interesting thing there. I would have been like, okay, I wonder what they're going to do in the sequel if they do a sequel. But right now, I'm just... It was a waste of potential. I didn't mind The Rock. I actually don't even blame The Rock. I think it was the material he was given. I think The Rock could have done better with better material. But then again, maybe you can blame The Rock because clearly his fingerprints are all over this film. But in the end... this is a fighting video game brought to life. It looks good, though. It's like a fighting video. It's the plot of a fighting video game. And it's like the plot of something like Mortal Kombat or something. If you're willing to look past its very flimsy plot, if you're willing to look past its very shallow characters and very shallow characterizations and its god-awful villain, you might have some enjoyment out of this movie, because I do think the action sequences are pretty cool. I do think Pierce Brosnan's powers and him, Dr. Fate, is really good. And I do think there is something to be had here, but the movie is still not that great. I would give Black Adam a 5.5 out of 10. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.